stator right here, and it's showing like this water coming in. There's the cylinder, and somehow I don't know. I found it in a forum. It may have been this way right here. It says, I recently came across something that I absolutely cannot stop thinking about. I would love to hear Matt and Destin's take on it, especially after that accordion call. I don't know who Matt and Destin are. The something in question is the water organ or the hydraulic organ. It's a category of a pipe organ that uses water to move air through the pipes instead of relying on bellows. The Wikipedia page is a mess that conflates a few different types, and I've had tough time finding better info, but still interesting stuff. Apparently, pipe organs go back a lot further than I would have guessed. She's right. I looked it up as 300 BC. It had keys, stops, and pipes. People have built replicas based on archaeological finds and historical descriptions. I can't tell exactly what's going on with these. Somehow, air and water get pumped into the thing, and the rising water forces the air up and out of the pipes. I have yet to find a really solid explanation of what happens inside, and there might have been several different designs. What's even crazier, I think more interesting, are the water organs in Renaissance Italy. According to the Wikipedia page, there were several palaces that incorporated water organs into their gardens, but these relied on rivers and waterfalls. As I understand it, the falling water would move through a pipe that had holes in it, drawing air into the pipe because of the lower pressure there. That airflow then could be controlled by keyboards or a water wheel and a rotating drum. The drum would be shaped in such a way that would mechanically operate the organ. Apparently, some of these also move statues and such, which is just absolutely wild to me. There's that same kind of image. It looks like more in black and white. I have not been able to find any good photos of these, and there's basically nothing about them on YouTube that doesn't look like AI slop, but I did find some illustrations from a 1650 book, which is what we just went over, of Masurgia Universalis by Athanasius Kircher. They cannot possibly be realistic depictions, but they do communicate the basic idea. There it is. That's where it is blown up. That's a lot better picture. And so here's the organ. Here's the water coming in. It's somehow... it's just crazy to think. And it doesn't surprise me that this may have... this existed. Where do they get this depiction from? How would they depict this without... I'm not saying it's, it's just... it's that same guy in that same book talking about the harp and the lyre. And, like, those are real instruments. The organ is a real instrument. Why wouldn't this be a real instrument? But the interesting thing is, however they designed this, it did more than just supply the sound for the organ, the pipe organ. It moved things. It moved tables. It moved statues. Like I said, we saw it with the blacksmith table. I mean, you can see the water comes on here. It rotates this wheel, which rotates this drum. And all of this in here, I have no idea. I'm not even going to pretend to know. I mean, it shows this thing being connected. Unreal. So, like, as this rotates, it's got something that's connected, like a string or something of sorts that would also control this. Wow. And where are these at? Where did they go? Where are they at? Why is there nothing on this? So these things are mechanically fascinating, but I also can't help but wonder about the people who crafted them, paid for them, listened to them, maintained them, and why don't we have any now? Good stinking question. I want to see one. I want to hear what a waterfall-powered pipe organ sounds like. So do I. I probably described them poorly, may have misunderstood the way they work. I just figured if there's a corner of the internet where someone might appreciate these things or be able to straighten me out on them, this is it. You know what? No, I appreciate your post, whoever, from 4 months ago, Wanderer of Stories. Well, guys, if I had just taken some more time to do some more digging, guess what? We found that water organ that I've been researching. There's one that remains. And man, is it something to see. But let's go to Wikipedia real quick. It just kind of talks about the water organs. There's some really interesting information on the mechanics of it. And it talks about many water organs had simple water pressure regulating devices, but at the palazzo, which is what we're going to look at, the water flows from a hilltop spring. But what's cool is when you go into the history of it, I know it's been a long video, so I'm just trying to get through it. Look into this. I might do a video on the sounds at vocal memnon. So vocal memnon are these two huge colossus statues, and they broke in half through an earthquake supposedly in 20-something BC. They broke in half, and they sang a song. You would hear a song on occasion from these colossus statues. Okay, and they supposedly invented the hydraulic organ, of which none, again, they can't make these hydraulic organs anymore. But supposedly it was created to mimic the sound of whatever these huge colossus statues sounds they put out. That again, once that was after they broke in half, they made these sounds, and then supposedly the Romans went back and finished the statues at a later date, and so they don't make the sounds anymore. Well, what I was reading was about the most famous water organ of the 16th century was at this via. It stood about 6 meters high under an arch and was fed by a magnificent waterfall. It was described by whoever this cat is as playing madrigals and many other things. When somebody gives the order to play, at first one hears trumpets, which plays a while, and then there is a consonance. Countless gentlemen could not believe that this organ played by itself, according to the registers, with water, but they rather thought that there was somebody inside. So they had an automatic organ. There was a water organ fed by a waterfall that played a sound without a single person operating it. Besides automatically playing at least 3 pieces of music, it's now known that the organ was also provided with a keyboard. So then it goes on to talk about other water organs, and the only one that survives is the one we're about to look at, and it is incredible. If only I had just taken some extra time to do some more research. So let's take a look. This thing's awesome. I'm going to scroll to the top of the page, and it just kind of walks you through it. That's the wrong, excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't want to waste your guys' time. I don't want to waste, there it is. So this fountain of the organ, it's in Rome, and at the Palazzo del Quirinale palace. Here it is. The fountain houses a hydraulic organ that still works today. This instrument plays thanks to a hydraulic system that uses the falling water to blow air into the pipes. And I encourage you guys to go check this out and just scroll down. It's incredible. You're looking at it. This stucco looking fountain is the water organ, and so there must be above it a waterfall that feeds down into this organ. I mean, you're looking at it right now. This is all part of the structure of this water organ. It says the fountain looks like a large recess. It is 48 feet high. Wow. In the mid-16th century, there used to be a lower fountain dug into the tough bank of the hill, accessible from the main garden via a complex system of stairs and pathways. Oh, I guarantee you it was a complex system. So it's 43 foot high. The fountain is 43 feet high. And this is what I'm talking. This is what we're talking about. There was something so much greater here than us. So much more advanced than us to construct, to build, was this a millennial reign instrument? I don't know, because when you get to looking at it, some of these depictions in the imagery, I don't know. So the vault dates back to the end of the 16th century, yada yada yada. We're going to skip that. Again, this is the ceiling. It looks like the ceiling. I'm trying to scroll up. Part of this is the detail. This is an organ. This is all part of this water organ. Look at that detail, people. My goodness. The colors. You can't even, you can stop and look at this thing for hours, looking at every little detail. Looks like there's a bunch of satyrs and lyres and harps. There's some things that looked like, oh, they're on both sides here. In 1596, the fountain was completed and decorated with stucco, enamel, rustic mosaics, and scenes from the life of Moses. Which makes me wonder. The works were completed by Pope Clement, looks like the 8th, as evidenced by the inscription in the oval medallion in the center of the vault. Just says, yeah. I hate when everything's in Latin. I can't read jack in Latin. Look at the colors, though. Look at these different colors. Like, how beautiful. How gorgeous. That looks like that cylinder in that image that we looked at. That's part of that cylinder. Yeah, because there's the strings. There's the strings that go up and control different parts of this organ, that it's not just music. Over the centuries, the organ's been restored several times. Yada, yada, yada. In the 17th century, a complex device was also added to produce a surprising mechanical theater. Yeah, see, that's what we're talking about. It's doing more than just providing music. The current drive mechanism dates back to the first half of the 18th century and is based on the insertion of a toothed roller to which the movement of the keys is connected. As the water falls, the large metal cylinder starts up, which in turn lowers the key, making the instrument automatically play. As the water falls. Huh. It's like how do they tune that to play automatically and actually play a song using what? It's unreal. It can also be played directly by an organist. The current organ features a 41-note keyboard with 6 registers for a total of 246 pipes. Here's some more of the artistry of this fountain. Oh my goodness. And this is what makes you wonder, because you see all these faces and it's like we get so caught in between. Like, is it pagan? Is it millennial reign? Are these things? This is where we muddy the water with things. Like, were these Solomon's, you get stuck between like, oh, was this a millennial reign building? Or was this a pagan temple or pagan something that was Solomon we talk about how Solomon's wisdom, and he could control the demons to build things for him, like through his witchcraft he was able to control demons and have them construct things. Is that what these are? Is that what some of this is? Does it date back to that? Does that instruction or whatever you want to call it, I can call it wisdom or knowledge being passed down? It's still fully working today. In 2004, to mark the end of a series of conservation interventions across the entire complex, a concert was organized for the first time since the unification of Italy at the Fountain of the Organ. The nozzles for the waterworks are located on the floor, arranged in a small pebble mosaic. They are connected to a device within the organ room. They date back to the pontificate of Clement VIII. So, arranged in a small pebble mosaic. We could never, I don't want to say we could never, but could we ever reconstruct something like this today? I mean, honestly. In the past, it says, such as in June 1601, when after lunch, I like how he had these details. Like, on 1601, after lunch, the Persian ambassador and other guests were soaked by the original water features spouting from the floor, which they very much enjoyed. Like, where do you get this? Where is this where is this coming from? Where is the information? Well, we know that. Wow. Wow, oh wow. Depicting this is followed by a second order decorated with painted stucco basic reliefs depicting marine divinities and aquatic animals. They say this is Moses, I think, right here in the next page. But it's like you have so much going on. There's so much to look at. Does this go back to Jabal? Jabal, the inventor of the lyre and the harp. Like, this looks very Sun Apollo-ish right here. Are these, or is this the opposite? Are these like, are these depicting angels? Which may infer that this could be a millennial reign instrument. It's so hard. Sometimes that's where I get confused in this research with people, because some say they're pagan, some say they're millennial reign. What are they? And so sometimes, the faces look so, some of these depictions, like, they're very creepy. That's creepy. Beautiful. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed something. Yeah, the third order ends in the large vault and consists of panels in which episodes from the story of Moses, alternating with figures of virtue, are depicted using mixed techniques like mosaics, painted stucco, glass mosaics. At the top of the vault, the stories of creation adorn the upper band of the triumphal arch. So that's what makes you wonder, That makes you wonder if this is, could this have been? But then you have this Pope Clement, the eighth, or it says Pope, but it says I'm not sure what PONSVI. I don't know what that means. Does that mean Pope? Is that Latin for Pope? I had to do some more digging. As you see Clemens. Yeah, you see Clemens the eighth. Clearly, but look at the detail. And then you have this other room. On the right side of the main body of the fountain, there's a small room that houses a group of statues representing the Forge of Vulcan. It's set in a tough grotto with the god and several cyclops concentratedly forging weapons in a furnace. I mean, this is all part of this fountain. I wonder if these move. Well, I don't think they do, but I was wondering if these are part of the, because in the depiction on the other research we was looking at, which I don't have it right here, of course, but it was depicting that there were statues that were connected that may have rotated or moved within as part of the design. Statues date back to the 17th century and come from the collections of the Saibo di Massa family. In 1773, they became part of the papal property, and at the end of the same century, they were transferred to this palace where this spectacular setup was created. So this was added after, they're saying. Like this, again, and this is kind of weird, this guy's missing an arm. Of course, they got to show whatever, like, is this a boy? Is this supposed to be a young boy? It's like, anyways, very, very, very interesting, very neat. I encourage you guys to check this page out, Google Arts and Culture, the Fountain of the Organ Palazzo. So, anyways, found that after I was editing my video. I'm like, well, I gotta add this in. So, alright guys, have a good night.